Hello everybody. It's December 2nd and hard to believe. It's getting a little chillier. It's down around 2 or 3 degrees, but in this particular area anyway, we've had no snow yet. About 10 days ago we had a light dusting that melted a few hours later, but this week just going by here now, there have been 2 snowstorms in the northern part of the province. 2 days in a row, a big snowstorm. And what we got down here was some rain, some much needed rain. Heavy equipment somewhere in the background there. And you hear a strange bird cry every once in a while. It's the male quail. Quite different from the bob white quail that I used to have. If that picked up on the microphone or not, I don't know. But they do that all hours of the day and night. I still haven't counted to see how many male quail and how many female quail I have, but I'm averaging about 6 eggs a day, so there are at least 6 females in there. To start this off, it's a little bit of everything, this video. I want to show you what's behind me again. I like to show this at least once a year. It always fascinates me. That is my pumpkin sweet apple tree. Fantastic crop of apples this year. It's the strangest kind of a tree. Those apples, well, the ground is covered with apples. I shouldn't say they don't fall off. The wind knocks a lot of them off. But most of those will hang on there all winter. So far they haven't frozen, or they might have chilled a bit, but when they really freeze, they turn brown. They still stay on there all winter, and different wild birds tear them open at different times in the winter when it's a bit milder. And I don't know if they're eating the flesh from the inside or if they're tearing them open to get at the seed. But anyway, it's a great tree for wild bird food. And now I'm going to have competition with roosters. I think probably about 2 weeks ago now, I managed to get the wire on the outside of this dog kennel, which is going to be a corn growing cage next year to keep the raccoons out of my corn patch, hopefully. And if you can see the difference in the color of the ground there, I've also spreaded, I think, 3, maybe 4 wheelbarrows of the dressing out of the chicken coops when I cleaned them out this fall. That will just compost over the winter, and in the spring I may mix it in with the topsoil a bit. It isn't sitting absolutely level because it's on all that new soil that I piled up there from the container gardens and whatever this summer, and that is settling in, different ways in different areas, so I won't bother trying to level it up until spring. And in the spring I plan to put chicken wire over the top. I have quite a bit of that left over from other projects, why I'm going to use chicken wire so that the coons can't climb it and go down in from the top. And I think I'll also put a skirt of chicken wire around the bottom, hopefully to prevent them from digging in. But Angel is very relieved. I've told her she's not going to have to live in that thing, so we'll hopefully see it full of corn next summer. Well, if you're watching Woody from Woody's Allotment channel, I can't remember what you called it, but last spring sometime Woody gave me a tip on what to do to get the hazelnut trees to produce more male catkins, and it certainly worked. I'll show you the other tree as well. I have 3 trees. One is still a runt and isn't doing anything much, but it's still alive, so maybe it'll take off eventually. This is the larger, the taller of the 3, and it's still maybe 6 feet tall at the maximum, I guess. But normally there's a few catkins, maybe 10 or 12 on the whole tree, and I'm showing you in a cluster there, but there are lots of the things. This particular variety, whatever it is, the catkins tend to be larger. I'll move over and show you the other tree now. Might be helpful if I actually told you what the tip was that Woody gave me. I can't remember what it was called, but what you do is sometime in, I think he recommended maybe September or something, but I'm quite sure I did it in August here because our season is much shorter. But the end of a lot of the branches, with the new summer growth on them, you just bend it over, not enough that you break it off, but you bend it, and that's Angel barking at something, and that causes the tree to become stressed or whatever, and it thinks it needs to produce a lot of male catkins, and as you can see from these little clips here, it really works. This is the shorter of the trees, and I know it's two different varieties. You can tell from looking at the different size of the catkins on it. But normally I've never seen more than 3 or 4 on this whole tree, and I haven't counted, but there's certainly well over 100 on it. Hopefully that means I'll have some hazelnuts next year. One of the problems here seems to be, though, that depending on the severity of our winter, if we get a lot of cold winter wind, it tends to kill the catkins. So if they don't open up in the spring, it really doesn't make any difference. There's still lots of little female blossoms, but there's no pollen to pollinate them. But at least there are lots of catkins going into the season. Debating whether or not to show you this mess or not. Raspberry canes got away from me. I'm not accustomed to growing raspberry canes. They were planted a year ago and didn't really produce much this summer, but wow, did they ever send up a lot of canes in all directions. And all I've done there is sort of lash them up for the winter. I put a bamboo cane in and put some garden twine around it. That's what you sort of see here in this area. Those are canes. The 5 large containers that I grew potatoes in are over top of my Saskatoon berry little plants, little bushes. I've had them for a year now. They did grow quite a bit this summer, but not all that big. They certainly don't need winter protection, but I thought if I cover them over like that, it'll be less chance that rabbits will cut them down to the ground on me in the winter coming. The 3 bushes in a line here with the white things on, those are protectors so rodents and rabbits, well, rabbits are rodent too, I guess, won't chew the bark off the stem. And those are my 3 cherry trees, which are more like cherry shrubs, I guess. They don't grow much more than 6 feet tall, a thing called the Romance series. I had a few blossoms this past spring but didn't get any cherries, and they're supposed to be self-pollinating, so not quite sure what that means, but they did grow a lot this summer, so hopefully more blossoms and some cherries in the coming year. And then there's my Asian pear here, and I've also got one of those protectors on the stem there so that the bark won't get rind off of it. And I'm going to have to do some pruning on that. I haven't done any yet, but sometime this winter. There's some very straight sort of water spout sucker growth in various places and branches that are crossing over, but you've got to be careful what you prune, that you don't prune off one of the grafts. It's grafted with 4 different varieties, I guess, of Asian pears, and had a reasonable crop this year, and they weren't large, but they were tasty. I enjoyed. I guess to be harvesting at all on the 2nd of December is quite unusual for this part of the world anyway, but these baby beets I just pulled were growing in the hoop house. That would have formed eventually into something a bit larger, but it's one of those Romanesco type cauliflowers, which I'll never grow again. They're, well, maybe 2 or 3 times that size when they're full grown, and it takes forever. A couple of small heads of broccoli, and those are the last of those, that's for sure. And some cabbage. These ones are Caraflex. I had to take a lot of the leaves off of that one because of cabbage mothworm and slug damage, and there's a little bit on this one. But anyway, they're very small. They'll make some coleslaw or whatever. And some other red cabbage that are about the size of an overgrown Brussels sprout. And along with it all, a handful of red Russian kale. So at least I can say I did my final harvest on the 2nd of December, 2016. I've got a couple of things I want to show you in the house, and then we'll close this video down and get it up on YouTube. We're back in the living room, and what I want to show you is, I guess, 3 of the, well, maybe 4 of the houseplant type things that I'm growing that you might remember. I think this is at least 2 years old. It's an olive tree. Has lost a lot of leaves, as you can see, but that seems to have stopped. And where the leaves had fallen off, there's now new little leaves ready to come out that'll probably come out and branch out again in the spring. When I got it from someplace out in British Columbia, it was just that one whip standing up, tied to this piece of bamboo cane that I've still got in there, but it didn't have any of the side branching, so it's grown all of that in 2 years' time, and at least it's still alive. These things are actually in front of what's called a garden door. Patio door slides. A garden door opens like a regular door, but it's a glass door, 2 big glass panels. I'm just photographing them up against this chair to give it some contrast so you can see them better. So that is my olive tree. I haven't harvested any olives yet. These are my lemon trees, grown from seed last winter. The one on the right, the taller one, is from an unknown variety, just a generic large lemon that you buy in the grocery store. And the one on the left, I also bought the lemon in a grocery store, but I know it's a Myers lemon, and it's much smaller. Well, they were roughly started the same time. The larger one was started earlier, but shouldn't have made that much difference in the growth, I don't think, so I guess it's the difference in the varieties. The one on the right, I have sort of pruned the growing end out of it, hoping it would start to grow new branches. It has, right exactly where I pruned it off. Nothing else is happening down below, so I'll just leave them alone and let them grow a little while longer. But I just wanted to show you that lemons from fresh seeds out of fresh lemons germinate, and they do grow quite nicely as host plants. At least so far I haven't managed to kill them. On the right is a rosemary that I've grown from seed this year, a spindly looking thing, and I do keep clipping it back and using some of it, which I suppose accounts for some of its bushiness and odd shape. And on the left is a bay laurel, a bay leaf plant, which I bought from Richter's. It has never grown a single new leaf in the months that I've had it since last spring. It still looks to be alive, healthy and green, but I'll zoom in on it if I can. But so far, no new leaves, and it's a very small plant. I've taken 2 or 3 leaves off and used it. So that concludes this little video. Thank you very much for watching.